So to start chapter 5, we're going to do a review of exponents. These are essentially notes just copied and pasted out of our chapter 1 notes on exponents for these first 2 pages, just to remind you how to read them, how to work with them, because we're going to really add to what we know about exponents beyond just the idea of what it means. But as a review, what an exponent looks like, you've got this big number, the standard number, but then you've got this smaller number written up and to the right. That is the exponent. In this case, the 2 is the exponent. We also can refer to it as the power. The 3, the big number, we mentioned before that we would refer to that as the base, although we didn't really ever use that word back in chapter 1. We definitely will now. We will in this chapter. So for all of chapter 5, when we say the base, think of the base as the big number, the bottom number. Either of those B words can help you remember. Base is this big bottom number. Exponent is this one in the top right. And then the different ways to read it as a power or raised. We talked about the word squared being specifically for a power, an exponent of 2. And then what that means. The 3 raised to the second power means you have 2 copies of 3 multiplied together. So we would have 3 times 3, and that's where we would get 9 from. Now the roles of those 2 numbers are very important because as we saw here, if we have 3 raised to the second, again also called 3 squared, like we just saw, that is 3 times 3, which is a 9, whereas here we have 2 raised to the third. Also, just as a reminder, this can also be described as cubed for the third power, but 2 to the third means 3 copies of 2. So 3 copies of 2 multiplied together. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8, right? Just write that out once. So obviously, they mean different things, and they give us different values. Also important is always understanding what the exponent actually applies to, and we mentioned how important parentheses were to help us with that. Because even though this says, or looks like it says negative 3 squared, and this looks like it says that as well, the difference is here, those parentheses tell you the square applies to what's in the parentheses. So you are squaring the negative 3. Here, the negative 3 squared, we cannot assume that that exponent of 2 applies to anything other than the thing it touches. So this negative is a negative sign, but it's almost in front of the 3 squared, meaning to interpret that, really that's what's happening. You're squaring 3 with the negative sign still out front, giving you a negative 9, whereas over here, negative 3 squared does mean negative 3 times negative 3, which is in this case a positive 9. So it again makes a difference in what it says and in some cases what your final answer even is. And that's there at the bottom of the page there, just the idea. The exponent only applies to the thing that's written above unless parentheses say otherwise. So when it's written above a number like that, it applies to just the number, but unless you have parentheses telling you it applies to more.